Welcome to Flash Video Basics Part 5. Today we're going to make our scrubber actually do some scrubbing. So this is where we left off last time. We made our little handle here that's adjusting its progress based on the playhead of our video. But now we want to go in and make this thing draggable. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click on it to go into edit mode. I'm going to hit Z to go to the zoom tool and just zoom in on this. So the first thing we need to do is to find out our drag constraints, basically the area that we want to restrict our dragging to. So the first thing we want to do is get the X coordinate, and that's at 0, which is nice and convenient. So 0 is going to be our left constraint. Now I'm going to drag it over to the right to where I want the right constraint to be. And I see it's 207.8. I'm just going to round that up to 208. So I want to be able to drag on the x-axis between 0 and 208. And the y-axis, the up and down, is not going to change, and we don't even need to know that number. And we'll see why in a minute. So let's go back out and zoom back out here. Okay, now I'm going to go in and start setting up our action script. Highlight that first keyframe and open the Actions panel. So here's where we left off last time. We have our video status function being called 10 times a second, and it's adjusting that scrubber based on the playhead of the video. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to create a variable that's going to hold another interval ID. I'm just going to call it scrub interval. And we're not going to use this just yet, but you'll see why in a minute. So now I need to set the onPress event handler for my scrubber. So I'm going to say loader.scrub.onPress equals function. So this will be triggered when I press the mouse down on my scrubber. Okay, so the first thing I want to happen here is I'm going to actually clear the previous interval that's calling the video status function. So I'm going to say clear interval and pass it the interval ID, which is video interval. You can see up here, where is it? Right here where I set that video interval. The reason why I had to set it to a variable is so that I could clear it later on. So the first thing that I've done is I've stopped that interval from happening. Now I want to create a new interval which is going to do my scrubbing for me. So that variable I just created before, scrub interval, I'm going to set it equal to another set interval. And we're going to write a function in a minute called scrubIt, which is going to handle our scrubbing. And I'm going to call this one 100 times a second, just so it's really responsive. Okay, so now I have that. Now I need to actually start my scrub movie clip dragging. So I'm just going to use this. Since we're in an event handler for the scrubber, I can just say this dot start drag. And to this function, it expects 5 parameters. First is a lock center parameter, which tells it whether you want it to, the movie clip to lock to the center of the mouse. So I'm going to say false. Now we need to put in our left constraint, which we know is 0. Now it's asking for that top constraint. And we don't even need to know the number. We just want it to stay where it is. So we can just say this dot underscore y. Now we're going to give it that right constraint, which you know is 208. And then it's asking us for the bottom constraint, which is the same as the top constraint. It's just this underscore y. And that's it. That's all there is to this function. So we've cleared that old interval, started a new scrubber interval, and we've started the movie clip dragging. Okay, now we need to set up the event handler for when we release our mouse from the scrubber. So I'm going to say loader.scrub.onRelease, but I also want to set the same exact thing to happen when I release outside of the movie clip. So when I move the mouse outside of those bounds that we just gave it and release. So I'm going to say equals loader.scrub.onRelease outside. And if you don't do this, you'll get some really funky behavior on your scrubber bar. So I'm going to set both of these equal to a function. Okay, and here what I want to happen is I want to clear that scrub interval that we just set over here. So basically doing the reverse in this event handler. So I'm going to say clear interval, pass it the ID, which is scrub interval. So now I've stopped it from calling that scrub it function. Now I just want to start the video interval again. So it's almost just exactly the reverse of the one we just wrote. So to save time, I'm just going to copy this without the var keyword, and I'm just going to come down and paste it in down here. So these first two lines are pretty much just the opposite of the first two lines of the previous function. We're just clearing one interval and setting another. So here, where we told it to start dragging in the on press, we're going to tell it to stop dragging down here. So we're just going to say this dot stop drag, and that's all it takes in order to get a movie clip to stop dragging, just to call that function. Okay, I can close this up now, and now this scrub interval, we're calling this scrub it function, which we haven't written yet, so we need to write this function, and this is the function that will be handling all the work of our scrubber. But it's only one line of code, so I'm going to say function scrub it. Okay, and now in order to change the position in a video stream, you need to call the netStream method, which is called seek. So I'm going to say ns.seek, and to this method you send the number of seconds into the stream that you want the playhead to move to. So, and this is the number that I'm going to be calculating here based on the position of our scrubber bar. So the first thing we want to do is to find out how far along the scrubber is compared to its total width. The total amount that it's able to scrub, I want to know how far along it is. So I'm going to say loader.scrub._x, and now I want to divide that by the total width that's available to scrub with, and that's 208. So this calculation will return a percentage in decimal form of how far along that scrubber is. Okay, I'm going to encapsulate what this calculation in parentheses just to make it more readable. So I want to take this number and I want to multiply it by the total number of seconds in our video. And we've already calculated that previously, and we're holding it in this duration variable. Okay, so now this percentage of how far along we are with the scrubber, we're going to multiply that by the duration, and it will return to us the correct number of seconds based on our scrubber. So we can close this, but the problem is that the seek method is expecting a whole number. We can't send it a decimal number. So I'm going to encapsulate this whole thing into the math.floor function, which basically takes a number and will round it down. So that just ensures that I don't have a decimal number. So this seek method is now going to be called 100 times a second, and it's going to update the video stream based on the position of our scrubber. So let's go and close this function now. So let's just recap what we've done so far. So we've created this, this scrub interval variable, setting the onPress event for our scrubber, clearing the old interval, starting calling that scrub it function, set our drag parameters, and when we release our mouse, we're going to clear that scrub interval, start the video interval going again, and stop dragging on the scrubber. And here in our scrub it function, we're calculating where to move the playhead to based on our scrubber. So let's test the movie now. And now we can see that our scrubber is moving by itself based on the position of the playhead. But if we drag it now, we can see we're scrubbing through the video, and it's very responsive. And wherever I let go, it will then start playing again from that position. Bring it back to the beginning, it just starts at the beginning again. And the reason it's so responsive is also because I've encoded this video with a lot of keyframes, and that's very important to do in order to get a responsive scrubber. So the next time I'm going to be showing you how to make a simple mute button to control the audio. So hope you enjoyed it.